To God alone be the glory.
I stopped by my mom's little restaurant place
Yeah,
yesterday.
how's it going?
Actually, it looks really nice and everything's still laid out the same, but she utilized the space much better and the new floors. Things are like everything's not so 60s and 70s brown.
We're gonna have to design our studio space for downstairs too, and get flooring for down there.
I just ordered body measuring tape from Amazon so I could measure myself. ChatGPT thinks I'm funny because I said that I have inner thigh fat and I look like I have a bussy.
Oh my God.
It was, it was laughing at me. Like, thanks. I'm glad someone thinks I'm funny. I filled up Alf's little restaurant station and he's been buzzing around.
Oh,
I
your
need to get
hummingbird.
more. Yeah. Because apparently they're like territorial. And once they find a spot to eat, they'll like remember that spot and the same one keeps coming back. And they'll like, if other hummingbirds try to come to their spot, they like run them off. Because I thought they were just like playing chase or tag. I'm like, oh, look at the birds chasing each other. Apparently, no, that's Alf's restaurant. So I was like, well, this is perfect because I can get a bunch of different hummingbird feeders, which they're actually their own restaurants, okay? And that I can name them all and I will know which birds they are since they will all go back to their own spot because they won't share their feeder with the others. So his
Oh.
name's Alf and I want to put name tags on them and I need to get the other feeders so I can just have this whole little hummingbird little like concession stand thing going on out here. The day after I leave the beach, a shark beached itself and someone was out there trying to drag the shark back in the water. I just bail. I'm not about to try to help that thing live and eat me. I grew up on Jaws. I know it happens. So here's my hot question. Who am I? Who do you think I am?
My sister, and what else would you want to be?
I'm just like realized that we're always working on ourselves, but then I realized I don't necessarily think like either one of us have been working on ourselves. Not that we haven't, but I think it's not been about who am I as a person? What do I want? I think it's been, well, who are we supposed to be? What are we supposed to be? There's always been some sort of like obscure, either, I don't know, this implied version. Oh, you're supposed to look like this. You're supposed to go to college and do this. You're supposed to make this much money. You're supposed to live here. You're supposed to get married. You're supposed to have this many kids. You're supposed to all these different expectations and standards. Some of them just straight spoken, some of them unspoken, and then of course some of them like obviously from the media, and then the mass amount of just fucking societal and government psyops that
Right.
have been used on us for years. So I'm thinking, oh, well, I've always been working on myself, but one, where does it ever end? Because it fucking doesn't. And two, when I think about it, a lot of it's been for all these other reasons. Okay, how we joke about my 600-pound life, and we're like, man, these people on here, they have these husbands and stuff that worship the ground they waddle on, and all this, and it doesn't matter how tan or how skinny or whatever. It's just like we don't have someone that's worshiping the ground we're waddling on, you know? But they're not worried about improving their health or their appearance. So I was like, just trying to think about all the things. If I take away things that I think I want to work on or things that I'm working on because they come from somewhere else other than like truly just me. And then it's like, well, do we even really know
Right.
who we are or what we want? Because it's always been told to us in one way or another. We're implied or psyoped in there as its own fucking rabbit hole. It's just nuts. And then there's millions of us, billions of us that are all pretty much, I mean, you can say all, but like doing the same shit. Everybody's out there trying to look this way or be this size or achieve this, make this much money, do this thing. It's No wonder everybody's so, I mean, there's a million other reasons why everybody's miserable, but like, damn.
I mean, everyone's trying to live up to some expectations for life that aren't their own.
I've been thinking a lot about like shame. Addicts in recovery, not all of them, but like a lot of the ones that everybody views as really successful or that are really popular. And I don't mean just on TikTok and stuff, but like when you work in that community, you learn those people. They're the ones people talk about all the time. Or, look at so and so, or they're doing amazing things, they're opening businesses, doing all this great, awesome, successful stuff.
Right.
Like they have no shame. Whereas, like, I can sit here with a similar story and experience. And when I try to think of where they're at and how they're achieving, I can think of a lot of factors. They don't have the sense of shame tied to it anymore, right? They
Right.
understand the difference between right and wrong, but that sense of shame isn't there.
Yeah.
So I've been thinking about how much shame and unforgiveness holds us back, and we don't realize that that's like at the root of whatever our barrier is. Even public speaking, it's not so much that people are afraid of speaking, it's the fear of judgment that they're going to get. And that's like, okay, how we look, how much money we make, all those things. It's like judgment, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the shame that's tied into that. If we don't look this way, or we're not making this much money, or doing all these things. So I want to embrace this radical self-forgiveness thing, and I want to master that,
Yeah.
because that's what, when you really think about it, that's the shit that's holding you back.
Yeah.
When,
Shame, guilt.
yeah, when you get all the way down to the bottom, that's it. And then, like, I think about all the stuff I plan. Like, we plan and plan and plan, like, all different things, but even just like the podcast, it's like, well, I don't have a studio. I don't have this microphone. I don't have these cool backgrounds. I don't know all this tech stuff. I don't know how to make all these videos. I don't know how to use AI and sound effects and voiceover and all this shit that other people are using, and that all the people that are popular or have really, not even popular, but just have really good content, like, it's like,
Right.
oh, well, I don't have any of that, so I can't do it. So I'll just plan and plan and plan and plan and plan. And then it just becomes exhausting. The planning is almost like,
And you never do. I mean, I think that's part of our ADHD though. Like, one, you have this overwhelming executive dysfunction. You know what you need to do, you know what you want to do. You have all of these ideas, you make lists, you think about them, you trace that adrenaline for a little while, and but then you don't know how to get started and it never comes to fruition because you never get started. That's me on everything. You're chasing that dopamine and you start the project and you realize that there's a lot more to it than how you envisioned it. And you start it and then you stop. You know how many half done crochet projects I have somewhere in a box, all kinds of animals and shit that I started making and then got halfway done and decided that I was done with it. That's how I am with everything. And I have always been like that since I was a child. You know how many saved game files I have where I started a game and lost interest after an hour and never played it again?
it's me and every project on my computer ever.
100%. Art projects, half like, oh, I'm going to get into oil painting. Yeah, spends hundreds of dollars on oil paints and fucking uh solvent and all the supplies that are needed for like the most complicated type of painting that you can do and the most expensive. Watches tutorials endlessly for hours and hours and hours. All these artists doing portraits and all kinds of shit. And then I get started and do like the underpainting for one picture and then never got any further because it takes a year to dry. But the pace that my brain works at is like, if I can't get it done right now in like a few minutes, I'm done or I'm not starting.
Yeah.
I mean, look, how long have I spent $300 a month on this fucking storage unit? I've been in this house since November.
Oh my God. I didn't realize
And
it's
there
been
wasn't
that
even that
long.
much stuff in there. And first of all, I should have just thrown all the shit away because I didn't need any of it. Like, not a thing. I mean, my degrees are probably in some box there if I didn't throw it away.
I think I saw those the
Um,
other day when we were moving stuff.
I hope so because I threw a bunch of boxes away. I threw a bunch of stuff away without going through it and was like, "Yep, don't need that. That's probably junk." And then I was like, I think there were important documents in there and, my doctorate and all kinds of shit. I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that, and I probably just threw away the scrap of paper they sent me. Thanks, Duke. My doctorate. I took every single class that I needed to graduate and then almost failed and didn't get my degree because I could not get my project started. I could not get my dissertation started to save my life. I could not come up with an idea of a research study. What the fuck can I research? I came up with an idea in infectious disease and HIV. And then I moved to West Virginia where I don't have that patient population to work with, at least not in sufficient quantities to do a research project. And that's where I stopped. I said, "Hmm, I took all the classes, but I guess I won't get the degree because I got nothing."
I do that with a lot of shit.
And the only reason I do have the degree is because one of the doctors I worked with, Dr. Singh, was like, "Oh, I've published a bunch of research. I've got this idea for a research study that I wanted to do here. And here's the idea. Why don't you do it?" And I was like, "Okay, I can do that." So I designed a research study around his research question and did the research and the study and collected the data and analyzed the data and wrote the paper and then listed a whole bunch of other people that as authors that were participating in it, even though I did 99.9999999% of everything. But anyway, it got done. I defended and I got the degree. And that's the best achievement I can have for my ADHD brain.
I'm just trying to figure out what's me? What does me want to work on? And what does me want to work on with like out and do without shame attached to it? And then I've been asking myself that question and I try to ask myself that question about like almost everything now. And then I'm starting to learn that shame can be attached to so much shit when you really think about it. And it's just insane.
Yeah. And so where does this start? Like, does this go back to Erickson? What is it? Industry versus shame and doubt? Is that the stage, Ericksonian stage? Are we
Oh
stuck in that?
yeah.
Did someone fuck us up then? Is that why we're here and we're
Oh,
still
and I'm
working
so
on
pissed
shame and
about
doubt and we're not industrious?
my degrees in psychology and then just learning all the crazy ass shit about Freud and like, I always thought a lot of
Oh
that
my
shit was
God, my
weird.
fucking thigh's cramping. Ah! I think I need some magnesium. Oh my God, my face is turning red.
Well, it's hot out here, but you're probably in the AC.
I'm in the AC. My thermostat's set on 69.
You know, with shame and like working on who I want to be, I've questioned a lot of things, and that's just me. I'm curious by nature. But I've kind of realized that I spend a lot of my time and I've spent a lot of my life preparing to live. And I don't want to say instead of actually living, because trust me, I have fully participated in life. My motto used to be like when I'm in the nursing home, I want to be the person that's in there that has all these wild and crazy stories to tell because it meant that I had actually lived life. I'd participated, I'd experienced all kinds of things. It's just made me wonder how many other people have done that too, has just spent a lot of time preparing to do things or preparing to live or thinking things needed to be a certain way. Maybe you've spent a lot of time preparing to be happy or trying to figure out how to be happy or preparing to be confident or to wear the clothes you actually want to wear, to apply for the job, to train for the job, get the education for the job, write a book, do a podcast, prepare to do better, to be better, to forgive yourself. Just like always preparing, maybe never beginning or having, maybe that little bit of ADHD where I'm going to begin, but I feel like I can't execute or follow through. So I was thinking, I've lost about 45 pounds. And
Um,
not that the podcast episode is about weight loss or anything, because it's not. But like I think really it should be about shame. But me thinking about my weight loss and how I feel and where I want to go next and what I want made me think, oh, it's the shame. I was trying to lose weight. Every time that I've went through that, losing weight or some sort of physical appearance change, it boiled down to trying to lose the feeling that I'm not enough. Like I'm not good enough. I believed for so long that I was worthless and invaluable and nobody could love me because of the way I looked. And that was not just romantically either. Parents and things like that, like, oh, I'm fat and I'm unlovable, or I'm this and there's something like I'm defective, there's something wrong with me. So then, and I know we both have done this. We just spent so many years, like every time we look in the mirror, we see every freaking flaw there is, everything that we think's wrong with us. Like
right.
now that I'm older, it's definitely, like bat wings, loose skin, these big old back bitties I got going on, my inner thigh boosies that I think I'm getting. I did something like so crazy. I've wore bathing suits and bikinis and stuff. There's a few people that I'll do whatever in front of, like, that.
Yeah.
But this was, I think, the first time in my life that I went to the beach. I wore a bikini the entire time. I put it on at the beach house, walked my heifer self to the beach in that bikini, no cover up, no nothing, in public. And I
You
think I was
know,
hoping that I would feel confident from it, but I absolutely did not. I felt totally awkward. And I know that I probably spent way too much time wondering if people were staring at me, but I did it. Like I did it. I wore it anyway. I had a good time and absolutely losing 45 pounds first, I know helped. But I've always like when I see other people and I'm like, oh, I wish I had that level of confidence, which I get is also kind of sounds like a judgment, but like I
you
see
know,
people that are huge and that probably sounds horrible, but like just wearing
well,
whatever. And I'm not even mad at them. It's just like, I wish I had that level of confidence.
and the thing is, though, like internally it's valid, like how we feel is valid, but like generally, externally, this thought process was not validated. Like, even when you were a bigger girl, like, you got a lot of attention from guys. Like, you've never had a problem picking up a man, right?
True. But I also think when you
Yeah,
have no
I
standard,
feel a lot of things externally didn't validate how we saw ourselves, even though that's how we felt, like worthless, like too fat, too ugly to be desired by anybody.
that's true.
Even externally, that attention was there.
But I think subconsciously that I had no standards also because of that, because I didn't feel that I had any
Yeah, kind of
self-worth.
take what you can get.
Yeah. So like, was it hard? No.
I don't
But
know.
like,
I think you
if
did
we
pretty okay. Like,
really, because I look at my past history and I'm just like, holy shit, I should have been in a psych ward.
yeah,
For
I'm
that.
speaking from a strictly aesthetic standpoint that,
Oh, like a step.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, you dated some good-looking guys,
Yeah.
even though you didn't feel like you were worthy, but you're right. I mean, they also lacked in a lot of other ways, like
Oof. Bad.
financially, mentally, emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, they were all right to look at. I mean,
Yeah, now
you
that
didn't
all those other
you,
now that all those other things I real
most of
matter,
them had their teeth.
it's like there are no options. When you're looking for something beyond looks, it's like, oh, well, there just isn't options. Because when I say I see those people and I'm like, man, I want that confidence. I wish I had that confidence. The confidence didn't come. I didn't get the confidence. It was more like the balls, like the courage to just do it and just be
Yeah.
like, this is me. I've worked hard to be me that I am now, not just on losing the weight, but over my life. I've worked very hard from who I was to where I'm at now. And the me I am now, like a million times better than I think what anybody could have ever expected me to get to, even myself. So it was just, I had to keep telling myself, you worked hard to become who you are right now, and it's only going to get better from here. So, like, who cares what anybody says or thinks? And if they don't like it, they don't have to look. So I can't even say that I got confidence from it because I don't think necessarily that it gave me confidence just doing it, but it definitely gave me courage. I did it and it gave me courage. And now I have the courage that, oh, I could do it again. It's okay. It's okay to be, like 159 pounds and wear a bikini to the beach.
Yeah.
And
I
not
did
have,
it and I didn't die.
yeah. And nobody made any rude comments to me.
And I think
See,
realistically,
I think that
like,
also comes with age too, because I feel like that
unless you're
happened
a
a
total
lot when
jerk,
we were
like,
younger.
who's really going to? Who really cares?
I feel like it's a mentality, like it's a maturity mentality age thing too. Cause I feel like doing that at like 18 and going to maybe some type of a pool party or something. Yeah, absolutely. I would have been made fun of, snickered at. People would have done the whole like, oh, the ground shaking when she walked. You know what I mean? It would have been
Yeah.
that would have been what happened. But now just being middle aged and just going to the beach and just being in a different part of life. And most of the people that were there were, ballparking my age. We just weren't really all that focused on that. So I think that's part of it too. Because doing that at 18 in a different setting, I don't think I would have had the same experience. I probably would have walked away wanting to go jump off a damn bridge. So whenever I was like doing my deep dive and telling ChatGPT, teaching it way too much stuff and just interacting with it for almost a year now, it pointed out, it was like, you don't fail because you don't know what to do. You fail because you feel like you stop seeing the progress that you should see and you try to find a better system. So I was like, you know what? I do that. Think about it, but like all the times you diet and it's like, oh, well, I ate salad for 3 days and I didn't lose 4 pant
Yeah.
sizes.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to stick with something that doesn't give you immediate gratification. And we live in a world of immediate gratification.
Right. And I also think it also comes back to partly sometimes the ADHD, because it's not like, oh, the plan you had, it's not like the plan wasn't going to work or wouldn't be successful. It's like the oil painting, like, oh, it takes forever for this to cure and to do this and to do that. And there's so many things in life are like that. Like it's these steps, it's this progress. Like
100%.
I do wish though that I don't know, 14-year-old me to about 25-year-old me, I do wish all the steps there could have just condensed themselves down into maybe 5 years. That would have been great if I could have just learned everything I learned and all the stupid stuff and just did that in 5 years. So I could have just moved on from that. But, I have to do things the hard way.
If I knew what I know now when I was 18, 19, 20, really all of my 20s, life would be so much different. One, I'd be fucking rich as shit.
I don't even want to, I can't even
I'd
say
be
that I'd be rich,
rich.
but I think
I'd be hot
I probably would have like invested in my physical appearance, worried
too.
way more
I
about what
mean,
I
not
look
that we
like at
can't
a younger.
now,
But yeah, like at a
but
younger age though, I could have totally got one of those sugar daddies. And I don't hate people that do that. They're smart. It just is what it is. Looks and sex sells. And there's people out there that are capable of using it to have financial security in life, you go, girl, or guy, because I know there's guys that do it too. As long as you're not hurting anybody else, just get it, do your thing.
yeah,
So I think there's that part of me that's like, oh, if you would have given me all the information and all the experiences I know now, I could have, I probably would have either went that way and done some shit like that, or I would have went the complete other way and moved off the grid somewhere, Finland, and raised cats for some nonprofit and just lived in the middle of nowhere doing that, disconnected from like where the world is at now, disconnected from it as much as possible. Because it's like, oh, I'm middle aged. It's a lot harder to do things and it's a lot more expensive to physically do things to get that sugar daddy. Because at this point, it would be more like a sugar corpse. That's my age range. I think you age out of being a sugar baby definitely after 25. So it's not possible for me to be in that market right now. But I'm definitely in the market to run away and just go work at a cat shelter or go to Costa Rica and live off the grid and learn how to do, like, I would just
Yeah,
so love to disconnect.
feel that. Kind of want to drop everything and fake my own death. And honestly, I don't even need to do that. Just like leave and never look back.
Yeah,
Like we've got to tell ourselves that we're Lot's wife while we're leaving.
actually, that's a
And if we
good,
fucking
yeah.
turn back, we're gonna turn into a pillar of salt.
That, like, but is that not the truth though? Because as soon as you go to take a step forward to do something, if you look back and let that linger at all, you either go back
Done.
and revert or you like it severely stunts your ability to move forward and makes things
Dead in
take
the water.
so much longer. And I'll be interested to see in 5 years where I'm at and what I'm doing. Just because I see things so much different now and so much is changing with my perspective on things. And honestly, I know we're not old by any means, but as far as like participating in life and living life, we have done and experienced things that most people couldn't even, they don't even know is possible. They couldn't fathom. When people do know some of the things, just even just a touch of some of the things, I think a lot of people think that we're batshit crazy or that there's no way that's possible. And then there's the people who are like, we don't even know how either of you are alive, functional, not in a psych ward. So like we have fully participated in life. Definitely. We did not sit on the sidelines.
Also, we thought that was all normal.
That's true too. Like, we did think like we just thought that was normal. And
We didn't have anybody in our lives that were like, oh no, you all should not do that. That is not a good idea. You could die.
right?
Like, you're gonna have your organs sold on the black market. Like, you're never gonna. And then you start watching some of these like true crime, like serial killer shit documentaries, and you're like, God, we were in a lot of those situations, and we could have totally been like schmurdered.
Well, and
Like,
then even sometimes some of them I watch them and I'm kind of judgmental, like, that's not a big deal. Like what? Why are you
uh,
complaining? Like, why are you, what do you
yeah,
mean
well,
that's
when
not
the people are on there like, gosh, she's so dumb, she shouldn't have done that. She shouldn't have gotten that trucker's cab and gone across the country with them, you know?
I know. I know. And it's insane because I feel like, but I think it's also good though, because we both do lines of work that are very people-y. So it also helps us relate to all different types of people. You know, we can relate to professionals, lawyers, doctors, and then we can also relate to your addict that's, you know, doing all this crazy stuff and making all these horrible decisions. And you're like, oh, well, you know, I may have also wandered down a back alley and done some shady things a few times or just different stuff. I wonder how many people that we've come across that we've randomly told some of the things that we've done and they're just, they walk away and they're just like, they're compulsive liars. There's something wrong with them. There's no way that happened. Because I feel
I feel
like,
like people probably think that like that could have never have happened.
yeah,
Trust me. Trust me. Unfortunately, we did. Unfortunately, we did. We did those
yeah.
things. And we're
And
still
like,
alive by the grace of God. Amen.
amen. And even then, though, I wasn't ashamed. But then when I went through this stage of, oh, these things aren't healthy, this isn't normal, this is dangerous, because we literally had to go through this giant section of life of unlearning. So not only were we like, We did things that were detrimental to our life, our health, our mind, our finances, everything. But it was all shit that we really didn't have anyone telling us not to do them or that they weren't good ideas. Or we didn't really have anyone that gave a shit. There was no one that was like, oh, like checking in on us, our
Because we only
well-being.
had each other, and
Like,
we were both like, yeah, sounds like I mean, it might not be a good idea, but
and I love the
YOLO.
mindset that we had that
Like,
was like, oh, as long as Brandon knows, it'll be fine. Well, first of all, he's probably with me or in a parking lot or hiding somewhere. So whatever goes down's not going to go well for either of us. So what good does that even do? I'm just not going to die alone.
true.
I'm just not going to be smuggled and sold alone. That's all that means.
No, we both are.
But
Poor kidney.
we had the right idea of like, oh, tell someone important to you. Make sure they know where you're at and what you're
Yeah,
doing.
instead, make sure they're not included.
Yeah, that should be a disclaimer there. Make sure that person is not also not included in whatever shenanigans that are about to go down.
Correct.
Yeah. But it's been cool though, because I mean, I think about the articles and the things I wrote and submitted to different trucker magazines, and even just getting to hear feedback from the editors and things on the stuff I submitted, and just knowing even stuff that didn't get published or whatever, like how much they enjoyed it and just the whole experience and the whole article and everything that I wrote about, like how unique it was and interesting. And in some of them, it was just, I love this, but, I just can't this isn't the type of material that we publish in our magazine. So even just the feedback, it was just cool to
Right.
know. That was awesome. That was an awesome experience. And Utah was beautiful. I want to go back so bad. And I've definitely learned not to try to ask anything of significance, of importance, anything to do with safety, medication, drugs, etc. in another language unless you're absolutely fluent. You can communicate with broken languages and like barriers and get by and be perfectly fine, but do not if you've got anything
Listen, you know it's a
important to
bad
learn.
idea if we're depending on my Spanish
Yeah,
in
definitely.
Mexico, okay?
But because of that, I forever have remembered to know how to ask where the bathrooms are. And I know that if I hear Los Hongos, I should be
We're gonna
paying
have a good
attention.
time.
Nuts. And the crazy
I
part
mean,
is
I'm
like,
still not opposed to a good mushroom trip in Mexico.
yeah, I'm not either. But the crazy part is like we just got done randomly interviewing all these strangers about you know, what life is really, the family members and the women being kidnapped and mutilated and their family members being forced to watch them, being gutted and skinned alive and like all this crazy stuff. And like what happens when the cartel's drugs wash up on shore and people
Don't
know.
take them, by the way, guys. If you find a brick of cocaine washed up on the beach, don't touch it.
Yeah, don't touch it. Trust me, it's
Actually,
cracked. They
get
know where it's
get the
at.
fuck out of there.
Just go,
Cause
leave. Just go, leave the
yeah,
country.
you
Leave.
don't want to be there when they come to get it. Don't
Yeah,
accidentally
nothing.
pick it up or intentionally pick it up because that's how you end up
Don't touch it, don't
murdered.
anything. Just leave. Just leave. Don't even tell anybody what you saw. Just get the hell out.
Never tell anybody what you saw. Snitches get stitches.
Gonna get worse than that.
Or worse than that, bullets in the
Crazy.
head, concrete shoes.
What messed up part thing is that bullets in the head was like the nicest thing you could get over there from all their experience with the cartel. Like that was like you want a bullet in the head compared to what they are about to do to you and your family. And it's just nuts. And then, we tried talking in horrible broken Spanish. Oh my gosh, we're like trying to look for a shaman and all this stuff. That was just not good. So even that, thank God. Like, and guardian, like I know people are talking, they're like, oh, my guardian angel, like, oh, they have to work overtime. Literally, he has to have given us a team or something. There's no way.
You know, the Holy Spirit the whole time was just shaking its head.
I think he was just like, they're so dumb. It's not their fault. These two are
The
idiots.
Father's like, let them be damned. The Son is like, forgive them, Father, for they not know what they do. They know not what they do. And the Holy Spirit was just like, oh shit. There they go again. There they go again.
And sometimes I do have to wonder though, I'm like, I wonder if it's entertaining for them at all. Because I feel like if you read parts of the Bible, you're like, oh yeah, God definitely has a sense of humor. There's definitely a sense of humor
100%.
about stuff. So I feel like our lives, if they watch it like TV, it was all definitely comedy slash Lifetime movie network. And they're like, whenever it came on, you just know they were all flocking around to see the level of stupidity that was going to happen on the next episode. And you just know somebody was back there bookkeeping, like, really? This is forgiven? I have to mark that this is forgiven? Really? And this is forgiven too? Like, really?
Yeah.
Like, how in movies when Santa pulls out the list of the naughty and nice list is huge and it just rolls on forever. That's our list of shit we've done. Right here, Alf, flying by. But then,
Oh
okay,
my God, there was just a hummingbird outside my window too.
yeah, you need to get little cafes for them.
You see, I was going to, and then the neighbor's like, we got bears. Brr. He'll attract the bears. Oh, I shouldn't say that.
Well, look at where we live. What do you mean attract bears? That's shit that tourists say in Pigeon Forge. You know what I mean?
Oh my
We
God.
already have
Speaking
bears.
of attract bears, I've got a story. Speaking of stories that are not believable but are true, okay? So, a patient comes into the office, not my patient, another provider's patient. He ends up getting into this car accident and ends up with a hemothorax, which is blood in the pleural space around the lung, and had a chest tube in there to drain the blood out. So he's in the hospital for a few days with a chest tube. Hemothorax resolves. They pull out the chest tube, they put a bandage over it, his chest where the tube was, and send him home, right? And he says, oh, he lives out in the country where we live, right? And so he was still having body pain, aches from the accident, and couldn't sleep. So he went out on the porch and laid on the porch swing with his dog to try to be more comfortable and fell asleep. And he felt this kind of movement around his wound from his chest tube. And he wakes up thinking the dog is messing with his bandage. And when he opens his eyes, there's a black bear with his head laying on his chest, sniffing his wound. So, of course, the guy screams because he thinks he's about to get eaten. And I mean, reasonably so, that bear was probably smelling his liver, thinking that smells like dinner. And so he screams, and the bear jumps up and runs away. Like, that doesn't even sound real, but it happened.
I don't think Jesus is real for 500 out.
Only in
God,
West Virginia. Only in West Virginia.
that's
Do you
insane.
wake up with a bear laying its head on your chest, sniffing your wound? Again, by the grace of God, he lived to tell the tale.
That's
Completely uninjured.
insane. Well, and the fact that he even woke up before it started munching on him too, because you know what was coming. Like that bear was not just gonna sniff around and be like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
done now.
No, he was like, smells like liver.
Yeah. I bet he never sleeps outside again.
I wouldn't chance it.
I wouldn't
Okay.
sleep outside my hammock, but we have a bear that's been messing around up in the
God saved you
woods.
one time. The next time the bear comes around, he might just be like, well, you didn't learn the first lesson.
Yeah, for real.
But he our God is not a God like that. Our God is a loving God and a forgiving God and a merciful God. Because look at all the shit that we did and we didn't die.
Oh yeah. Like
We
that's
didn't end up disabled. We didn't end up anything. Like all the times like we should have learned our lesson and we didn't.
yeah.
And somehow we kept getting saved. from our situations.
And didn't even realize it at the time either. Like in the
No.
moment, like, oh, whatever. But now it's like, holy, like, what?
Like, I didn't even believe in God at the time. I was
Right?
like,
Think about times where we've floated through being like atheist and agnostic and like this
there was
roller
nothing in it for
coaster.
God, right? Because it wasn't like I was praying or praising him or
And he's
anything.
like still out there saving us. It's just crazy. And we're actively making fun of him. I
Yeah.
think back about all the jokes and the schizophrenic jokes and all, which sounded so reasonable at the time, right? Like we were just like, we thought everyone else was crazy. Like we were just like, these people are like nuts, like they're crazy.
Like,
Like,
I'm out there vocally telling people that they're like stupid and crazy
yeah.
for their faith. And like, how could they? How could they be so dumb? And God's just like, you know what? I'm gonna give him another chance. I'm gonna save him. And you know what? Maybe one day he will see the light. Maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe one day they'll see the light before they
Yeah,
see that final light.
maybe 1 or 2 decades
Yeah.
before he saw the light. Like, and
And
that's
the
so
patience, because I don't have that
weird.
patience.
No, no human has that patience. Listen, no human has that patience. No human has the patience to deal with us then
Yeah, that's for sure.
and be like, you know what? This is totally cool. It's okay. I forgive them. I give them grace.
It definitely does, though, make me give other people more grace than what I ever would have even in the past. Like old me
I'm still a
had
work
no
in
grace for
progress on
anyone.
giving people grace. I'm still a work in progress.
Like
Okay?
I had no grace for
Because
anyone.
I can still be a hateful son of a bitch. And
Oh,
I try, but I still have a short fuse. I don't know why. And I pray that I can be a more gracious person and be more forgiving and be more patient with people because I certainly lack a lot of that,
yeah, I still definitely
unfortunately.
I have way more than what I ever had ever. But there's definitely still areas where it definitely needs improvement.
Yeah.
It's just gotten better with time.
You know what? So has mine. Not so many years ago, I would be like completely red, angry, like veins all distended in my face, like a psycho person cussing and screaming. Like before I would even leave a parking spot, I would be so annoyed with people on the road that it wasn't good for anybody. It wasn't good for them. It was not good for my health. Like I probably took several years off my life with all the stress that I had and anger that I harbored from road rage to the point where I would visualize myself doing unthinkable things to people over stupidity. Now,
Shooting?
I'm not in a hurry to get anywhere. Honestly, if I'm late, I'm late. Who are you? Like, who are you? You are not the Brandon that you were before. And you know what? Maybe that's God working on my heart, turning my heart of stone into one of flesh and starting small, like with road rage.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I find myself in my old man phase and I'm like, yeah, totally. I'll drive the speed limit in the right hand lane. And I'll get where I'm going. Now I have my moments. I'm either in old man mode, like I'm driving 70 miles per hour with my cruise control set, like just riding in the right hand lane, like singing to myself and daydreaming and not in a hurry to get somewhere, or I'm like on their ass ready to go, like get out my way, I need to go.
If I have to pee, that's when it kicks in for
And
me.
there's like no in between for me either. But I used to be 100% of the time the second one. Like, get the fuck out of my way. I gotta go. I got places to be. I gotta go. Not that I actually had anywhere to be, but I needed to go and I needed to get there.
Isn't that crazy to think about? I had no clue then how much God was playing a role in my life. But now and even not just now, even over the last few years, like it's crazy. When you read the parts about, being forgiving, I try my best. I do think I do pretty well. Because not because it comes natural, just because I really worked on it really hard and I prayed a lot about it, about being forgiving, you know. And I don't even wanna say that comes from this altruistic place. It was because I also know that if I want forgiveness, I have to be able to give it. And
Yeah.
I seriously went into some self-reflection and panic mode, like, "Dude, I've done so much horrible, awful stuff in my life and said and did horrible, mean things that I know I would like to be forgiven for. So I better start working on forgiving others because, if you were keeping track, I definitely had a list."
Um,
I guess you could even say it kinda came from a selfish place because I just realized, like, "Holy crap. Like, I got a lot of shit I need to be forgiven for, so I better start figuring out this forgiveness thing." And then I think that working on that and praying a lot about that, the grace thing kind of like just followed hand in hand with that, like trying to have more grace. But there are definitely times, places, people, roles, like at work, the type of work I'm doing where I give way more grace than I would give in other situations. So there's always work to be done, but it's definitely much improved over time. And even honestly, the forgiveness and shame thing, when I started thinking about that a while back, that also played into I realized I was like forgiving people, places, situations, but I was having such a hard time because I never forgave myself for anything. I was learning and putting into practice forgiving other things and people, but I could not forgive myself for anything at all. Even things that I probably don't need to forgive myself for, but for some reason or another, there's some sort of trauma or old standard or something that was imposed because I carried shame for it. I could never let go of my own shame because once you realize, "Oh my god, I should not be doing this. I shouldn't have been doing that. I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I lived life like that at one point in time, and I did all these things, and I thought this stuff was normal." It was this wave of shame that hits you because now you're awake to it, and you're like, "Oh, man, like, what a horrible, awful, like, shitty person." So then you gotta try to digest that and deal with that. And still
yeah.
grow in your faith and try to be a better person, and you want your outward life to reflect the inward changes that are going on, and I felt like that just for a while there, I felt like that really built up on me bad. I think church was a good thing. It was a good thing, and I think I found a good church, and I found people that were really well intended, and they were genuinely caring, but because none of them had come from the background that I had come from, it was
Well, it's
almost
hard for
like
them to relate.
yeah, and, it was almost like their level was unattainable because
Yeah.
how do you reach a level that's impossible? And I don't even wanna say that they intentionally put that in place or set it up that way, but I was struggling with realizing, "Oh, that was a shitty human being. I did all this horrible, shitty stuff, and I come from this totally different life." Well, that stuff can never change. That stuff's never going away. I can't take any of that stuff away and rewrite my life starting over the way their life started out in good, safe two-parent homes, with a biblical and Christian foundation and all like I could never achieve that. And for the longest time, it just felt like this Christian thing, this God thing, like it just couldn't work for me because I can never change any of my past. And that's made me who I am. And I can never achieve that. And I'm never going to be as good as anybody else that's a Christian because I can't change the last 20, 30 some years of my life. It's never going to take any of that away and make me be like them. So I don't even want to say that they intentionally like force that or anything, but it's very hard. I think it's a very hard gap to bridge when you are so different in the backgrounds you come from because it's hard to interpret things. You have to be able to see and understand things from a different perspective, and you also have to be able to relay them to another person in a way that they can relate to and understand because two people can say the same exact thing with the same exact intent and meaning behind it, but who you are and the way you relay it and the way you relate to that person makes the difference. So
It's hard to have true empathy for somebody, to put yourself in their position if you've never been in a similar position.
Right.
You know, it takes like either someone has to have a similar experience to truly be empathetic to you, you know, to put themselves in your shoes and feel what you're feeling and to understand what you're feeling. You know, those people, when they can't relate, they're sympathetic towards your situation. But we want empathy from people. We want people to understand where we're coming from and put themselves in our position and and understand that way. We don't want sympathy from people, which is pity, right? Like
Right.
no one wants someone to pity them. Oh, I'm so sorry that you went through all of that. Versus like, yeah, I've been in a really similar place and it was awful for me. And I'm so glad that you made it out of that and that you're alive.
And see, that's that same reason there, I also think is why I can see where God's forgiveness and grace and protection, because he allowed us to do so much awful, stupid shit and saved us. I can relate to so many people genuinely. Like when they're coming to me, you know, homeless, they don't know how they're going to eat, they have no food, and they have all these horrible, awful things going on, they've been abused. I get it. I may not get it 100% to whatever their experience is,
Yeah, you haven't
but
been through the
I get
exact
it.
same
On some
thing,
level,
but
I genuinely get it.
you've lived through situations that parallel that.
Right. And you can tell when another person has or hasn't. I
Yeah.
had this Annie, she's a wonderful attorney, but she had told me we instantly bonded the first time we met. And she's like, she kind of later on asked me some questions. She's like, yeah, I knew you had some trauma like that going on. She says, trauma knows trauma. And I knew the first time I met you. That has always stuck with me because she's right. Like, I think there's an unspoken recognition when somebody's working with you and helping you, if you're in social work, if you're in medicine, whatever it is, and you genuinely can relate, you can just tell. They don't have to tell you everything they went through, but like, and that matters. The weight of what they have to say, the weight of their ability to encourage you,
Yeah.
because you could say the same thing, but if I know you've never experienced it, it means jack squat to me. It's just, I mean, you get that pity feel,
There's a stark
pacifying
difference between
feeling.
someone having empathy for your situation and someone being sympathetic to you. There's a stark difference. And I don't think that, though I think sympathy comes from a place of love and care for someone else,
Yeah, it's not bad. I think it's
it
well
doesn't
intended.
carry the same weight as empathy does. It doesn't carry the same weight as that person having been where I've been or something similar and
Well, right. And there's a
actually
reason.
understanding my situation versus them feeling sorry for me. Like, yeah, they're probably coming from a place of love when they say that they feel sorry for me. It just feels like they're having pity on me, right? And when someone's pitying you, then there's a power differential. You don't feel like you're on a level playing field with that person.
And then it turns into judgment and
They
shame.
feel superior, right? And that, oh, I could never be in that situation that you've been in, but I feel bad that you're in that situation, right?
Right. And like whether they intend it to or not, psychologically, it turns into judgment and shame.
Yeah.
Like it just internally becomes
Yeah.
that,
So
even if
you
they're
feel
not.
worse about your situation versus if someone can relate to me and they're empathetic to me, then that empowers me because I see they made it through that situation. They made it through. They made it to the other side. And that becomes a point of empowerment instead of a point of shame.
Well, and like also, being a living testament, right? So, like,
100%.
people
100%.
think so much like, "Oh, you have to memorize the Bible and go to Bible college and you need to
No.
thump and go knock on doors, and if you're not at church for every meeting and every
See,
service, and you're not
that's the
donating all this
difference
money and this,
between
and this," but,
that's the
like,
difference bet that's the difference between knowing the gospel and having lived the gospel, right? There's a difference, orthodoxy versus orthopraxy, right? And so we talk about that and the way that we act as Christians. Like, it's one thing to be orthodox, like to understand the Bible, and it's another thing to be, you know, orthopraxy is to apply the Bible, right? To practice what the Bible teaches us. You can spread the gospel message much more effectively when you've been someone that's been desperately in need of that message. When you have been the whore of Babylon, when you have been the outcast, when you have been the Syrophoenician woman begging for Jesus to help your situation, and you're the outsider, the outcast, and you've done nothing to deserve his blessing or his grace, and somehow you get it anyway. You've been the man that's beaten and nearly dead on the side of the road and needed the Good Samaritan to help you, right? You've been in need of the Samaritan, of that neighbor's blessing. You've lived the parables that Jesus teaches, right?
which
You've been the
all these
man
characters
that
that
comes at
almost
the
get
end of the
worshipped, right?
day to the farm, and you got the same talent that the other people are, you got the same denarius that everybody else got by the grace of God. And until you've been on the receiving end of God's grace, you can talk about grace all you want, but until you've been on the receiving end, you can't give that message effectively. Grace is such a hard concept, right? Like,
Oh my god, yes.
it's the hardest thing for anybody to understand, including myself. Okay, so I'm this awful sinner, and for no reason at all besides his love for me, God forgives me and redeems me no matter what. And not because I did anything to deserve that, but because it's a free gift. And that's a super hard concept because everything in this life that we live has a cost. Even things that are free come with cost.
Mm.
There's opportunity cost associated with that, right? You're offered a free trip to Hawaii. All you got to do is sit through, you know, a couple of hours of lectures about a timeshare for a couple of days of the trip, and you get this free trip to paradise that comes with a cost, and that's your time, right? Nothing's free in this life that we live.
So it's really hard to grasp that concept.
It's hard, yeah, exactly. It's hard to grasp that our God would freely forgive us when we don't deserve any of it. Like, we deserve death, right? We deserve the punishment for our
Grasp.
sin, and he took that punishment for us, then, now, and forevermore. That's a huge concept to grasp. And like, until you've been that type of awful sinner that the Bible talks about, because most people are like, oh, I'm a good person. I tithe my 10% to the church, and I attend every Sunday regularly, and I volunteer, and I'm a good person, and I don't cuss, and I don't eat pork, and I don't whatever. So they feel like their sin is diminutive compared to someone like you or me that has had the sin of lust or whatever, greed, gluttony, like
Um,
all of them, right? And then there's all of these people with this concept that there are degrees of sin, like, oh, that faggot, talking about myself here. Sorry not to offend anyone, but that homosexual, immoral person, their sin is awful. I could never sin like that. you know?
And meanwhile, it's the same person watching porn with gangbangs and everything,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's the
You
same,
know,
yeah.
they're watching men circle jerk off onto a woman's face, and they're watching like violent pornography about like, women getting,
And
raped,
even just the
and
thought is equivalent, right? So like,
they're watching things that, involve children
oh
and,
God, yeah.
bestiality. But, the man that is in an adult, consensual, loving relationship with another man, this is the sin that God cannot forgive.
I know
There are people that think
it drives me
this.
nuts.
There are people that think this.
The cherry
And
pick on
until
that.
you've been that kind of sinner that is completely ostracized, you've been the prostitute or the drug addict or Isabel, the murderer, something, until you've had what people conceptualize as an unforgivable sin, like you can't truly epitomize how beautiful and how unfathomable the grace of God is, because it's a concept that's beyond our human conception. Because we always think that things are quid pro quo, like
Hmm.
to get something, I have to give something, right? If I want a new car, I've got to work hard to make the money to get that. We live in a
And most of it's
society
unspoken,
that
but it's there.
there's an implied transaction, even if you're not getting something in real time for something.
Yep.
Like eventually you expect to cash in on that,
Oh yeah. 100%.
right?
Just meeting
Even
someone,
if it's
being
not like
introduced to
something in
someone.
return, you're giving someone something because you want them to love you or you want them to spend time with you. It's still transactional, right? And God doesn't
Absolutely.
work like that. Our relationship with God isn't transactional. Like you don't earn grace because you pray the most or because you tithe the most or because you volunteer the most or because you're a philanthropist. Your works don't earn you anything beyond anybody else.
That's
Grace
universal too. The
grace is a free
transactional,
gift.
it applies to everyone. Like you can't find me anyone that has lived life that's truly natural. That is just the way it is. But I want to circle back to churches love telling the stories. Paul's the biggest one that everybody just knows, but of the disciples. And they're just almost, I'm not saying they worship them, but they almost talk about them and their stories in such a way. They focus on like the letters and their messages, but they are aware of all the horrible, awful things this person did. But it's almost like there's a disconnect when they have that horrible, awful person standing in front of them. Like
Yeah,
you want to boast and talk about Paul and these wonderful things he had to say, but when you have someone that's currently walking a life parallel to his or
right,
anyone else like
right.
that biblically, they say that, you're not on the right path, God doesn't want you doing this.
You're quick to
You can't
condemn. To
you
condemn.
can't say that. I think universally most people can say, all right, there's probably a list of things in there that you're doing that you shouldn't be doing, and that, well, this isn't what God wants you doing. God uses everything. That if Paul wasn't Paul and someone just walked up to him one day before everything happened and said, God doesn't want you doing this, and he just was like, okay, I'm done. There's no Paul. There's no lessons. There's no great sermons. All
Yeah.
of these things don't come
You
to
know,
fruition. I'm not
problem with
saying, oh, run out and do as many horrible, awful things as you can.
no, that's not the message. But just like you experienced, many people experience, like church isn't for me, Christianity's not for me because I don't fit the demographic. I'm not my parents that, I'm not this middle-aged suburban white man with a 401k and 2.5 kids and a house in the suburbs that does my job, says that I'm monogamous with my wife. A person like you or me or, other people that don't fit that demographic walk in and they feel like an outsider and they're treated like an outsider often. Maybe superficially people are like, oh, welcome but you can feel persecution happening in real time to
Or at bare
you.
minimum, the disconnect.
Yeah, or you just don't feel like you can connect with that body of the church. And I think that's why pastors like Nadia Boltzweber, she's tattooed Lutheran pastor that draws big crowds. And why? Because people can relate to her and she can relate to them. She's went through addiction and has went through struggles with faith and has gone through trying alternatives, right? Like she tried to be a witch and she tried to be atheist
And for
and
some people,
whatever.
that's just their path and that's just their
Yeah.
process. Like, I'm not encouraging
Yeah.
people to go out and try
And,
to be a witch or try to do tarot and all
sh
these things, but sometimes that is just what it is for that person. But to have people in church, especially when they're trying to learn, that's
yeah,
a very sensitive time.
when they feel called to Christ, we need to be prepared to respond in a way that makes them feel welcome and not just at the surface level, but truly included, truly a part of the body of Christ, which we all are.
And even if you have, I don't know how to word it. A lot of times people don't see how much you have turned your life around, even though it's still not wherever they're at.
Yeah.
They don't see, you have no clue where I was at, where I came from to where I'm at now. This is so completely unbelievable that I'm even where I'm at today and who I
Yeah.
am
Yeah.
today.
That I'm holding the
But
job,
it's almost not,
that I'm in a steady
but it's not enough
relationship.
for them. Like, you're
Yeah.
not enough. You're not,
Yeah.
well, you're not wearing the long skirts yet, or you're not doing this yet, or you're not celibate yet, or you're not
Yeah.
this yet, or you're
Yeah.
not that, all these other
You're
little
covered in
things yet.
tattoos, you still curse, you know? Yeah. And you know what? We're all a constant work in progress and none of us are ever gonna attain perfection and a 100% sin-free life, and that's not what God expects of us. This transformation that happens when you accept Christ in is not instantaneous like everyone thinks. It's a gradual process.
It really is, and it's not on their timeline, and I feel like they oftentimes forget that too, 'cause they're so quick to say it's on God's timeline, but you're holding me to your timeline,
Yes.
and that's not fair. Like, my church, love them all to death, wouldn't trade it for the world, wouldn't trade the church family for the world. I don't believe anyone ever did anything intentional at all. I just think, and there's a lot of taboo things that you can't just, like, you can't just, have you ever had to sell your body to make a dime so you could pay all of your bills because you had no other choice and you weren't going to let your kids starve? And you can't just walk in and say that. You know when somebody can relate to you or not. And it's like, some of us need to be able to have someone in the church we can have that conversation with. There needs to
Yeah.
be someone in the church that conversation can be had with them. I understand it. That's not a conversation that's appropriate to have with just anyone, but also there needs to be someone in the church that has had that experience. So when someone gets that calling and they're searching and they're going through churches and just trying to figure it out and find the right answers, and there needs to be someone that, yeah, I did drugs. Yeah, I've done this horrible, awful thing. Those things should not be so taboo that nobody talks about them. They're not talked about. And I get that they don't wanna shine light on them, and you don't wanna make that, like, it's something to brag about or anything like that. I get that. You absolutely don't wanna do that, but there needs to be enough awareness about it, and it needs to be talked about enough in the church that when someone's coming into the church, that they know there's someone there that used to be an alcoholic. So if I need to have a conversation with someone about my alcoholism in the past or whatever it is I got going on with alcohol, like, there is someone in that church that does believe in God that I can go have that conversation with and not feel like I have to hide it. So it should be talked about enough that it's known so people know that there's someone they can go have that type of conversation with. And doesn't that matter more that you have the opportunity to have that conversation in that church with somebody who believes in God? Because when you don't give me that opportunity, then I'm left to either try to feel so much shame and judgment from it from trying to hide it that I no longer want to come back to the church. And it's not necessarily because anybody did anything, but like I clearly don't fit. There's clearly not someone there I can have this conversation with, about this thing that I've experienced or that I'm struggling with. Or I have to go have that conversation with somebody who doesn't have God or faith in their life. Well, where do you think that's going to get me? So I think it does need talked about enough that that person that has that experience or that resource of experience that you don't feel like an outcast, and should you feel you need to have a conversation, that you can have it with a person in your church that has had a similar experience, because that is it's so needed. And like you don't want to go have that conversation with the person who was raised in a nuclear family and was a virgin until they were married and have been had God in their life and been Bible thumping their whole life and has absolutely no clue, like at all, where you possibly could even be coming from.
Yeah.
Like those types of conversations need to be had often enough in the church that it's not glorified, but that it's there.
Yep.
These bugs. Yeah, it's getting dark now. Might get eaten by a bear. I
Oh,
don't worry about my cat getting eaten by the bear. Like I couldn't even imagine waking up to a bear. I would have I probably would have went straight to Jesus as soon as I opened up my eyes. My heart would have stopped. I want to jump in the damn pool.
yeah.
Well, that was a fruitful conversation, even if it doesn't go into podcast mode. It's still a fruitful conversation.
Feel good. I haven't talked about God for a while.
God, me either.
I mean, I've talked to God,
Yeah.
mostly just asking for help, begging for help. And so,
Mine's always like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? Can you not just like
me
write it
too. I'm
down,
like,
mail
God,
it
I
to
give
me?
up. Like, oh
That's that.
no.
I'm a dumbass. Like, I'm an idiot. Spell it out.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So, speaking of being an idiot, which I asked God about that before, and that's how I found God. You got to make it so obvious that I couldn't possibly explain it by
Like
any other
mistake it.
means.
Yeah. Yeah. I have to ask
God knew
him
that. I
most
mean, I
of
didn't
the time.
tell him that, but when I was like, God, give me a sign if you're real, and then boom, like the sign slaps you in the face. And
And it's
I was
it's
like, you knew exactly, because you knew if it was any little subtle sign, I would have been like, nah, that's a coincidence. That couldn't be. Like, you had to slap me in the face with it.
and it's so funny that we asked that because we reflect back on like clearly he exists. Like we're alive. Like clearly we have so many obvious examples, but still we're just like write it down, mail it to us. Write it in the clouds.
We all hide the scars, searching through the dark, trying to find who we are. If people have to hide their story, they'll never ask for help. This is where the outcast rise, through the grace of Jesus Christ. We are not our failures, we are not our shame. We are sons and daughters, he calls us each by name. Hope begins when the truth is spoken. Grace walks in where the silence is broken. This is where the Holy Spirit breaks our shame. Welcome to the life we hide, where faith meets the fight inside. No more running, no disguise. Step beyond the life we hide. This is where the woman at the well steps into his light. Some stories are whispered, some stories are buried, some stories are waiting to finally breathe. Every chain has met a key, every captive can be free, every Every scar can tell his story. Every life can bear his glory. This is where fear loses its name. This is where grace rewrites the story. This is the life we hide. This is where the whore at the well finds living water again. Truth isn't always pretty, healing isn't always quiet, faith isn't always easy, but none of us were meant to hide. This is the life we hide. Every scar has a story. Every story has a purpose. Every purpose begins when someone tells the truth. The life we hide. Amazing grace still reaches farther. Mercy still calls the broken home. No perfect people, no perfect stories, only a perfect Savior. The life we hide. We've all been broken. We've all worn masks. We've all searched for hope in places it couldn't last. But healing begins the moment we stop hiding. Welcome to the life we hide. God, you know I'm a dumbass. You're gonna have to spell it out for me.